Good morning from Zurich. You're listening to Monocle on Sunday with me, Tyler Brûlé. Coming up on today's program, my guest, Chandra, she is back. Also, Myriam Zumbühl is also here. She's got maybe some views. She's been to the States. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I think we cannot not talk about the Swiss weather. It's been the headline every day, right? Is it going to rain, yes or no?
Yes.
Probably yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
They even said, I was looking at the forecast for today. It was not going to rain. I left some things outside. It rained this morning. Anything else?
It did. Yes, it's going to rain again probably after 12, but then you're going to be fine.
I'm going to be on the TGV on my way to Paris. Also, we're going to be heading to Istanbul to hear from our correspondent there.
I'm Hannah Lucinda Smith, usually in Istanbul, but this week on the Greek island of Samos. And coming up, I'll be talking about the forest fires that are ravaging parts of the Turkish coast and an unusual incident here in Greece where some tourists were chased in the water by wild boar.
Maybe that's a good thing. Plus, we speak to Christoph, editorial director of Zeit, and we'll also be talking about US tariffs hitting Switzerland. It's the 3rd of August, 2025. Live from Zurich, this is Monocle on Sunday.
Live from Zurich, this is Monocle on Sunday with Tyler Brûlé.
And good morning from a somewhat sunny Zurich. There is a promise of summer returning after 2 weeks. I didn't experience any of it. I've been away, listeners, as you know, but of course checking in dutifully from Lisbon. Very, very full house here at Dufourstrasse. It feels like it's early October. Everybody is in town. I'm happy to see Chandra is here this morning. You've been to Paris. We can talk a little bit about that, but guten Morgen, very nice to see you.
Good morning, Tyler.
But let's just jump to Paris because I'm en route right after this program. How was the feeling? Paris in summertime quite good, but maybe a bit too sleepy, or no?
First of all, the weather was better than here because I put now my warm jacket. It's so cold here in Zurich. No, it was lovely. We went to see the David Hockney exhibition. I think it's the last days. And also in the Pinot Center, I don't know the name of the artist, but this lake with the dishes in it. So, and it's a lazy summer mood, but it's a lot of art, and I think therefore Paris is famous.
Did you experience any people swimming in the Seine?
Well, I avoided that. I will never jump in the Seine.
Myriam Zumbühl is also here this morning. Of course, regular contributor, also with the NZZ here as well. We were talking about empty rivers that you had, a large stretch of the Limmat all to yourself the other day.
All to myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's pure bliss. Like, this is the time where Zurich is off duty. And I think it's such a beautiful sort of joie de vivre. You sort of move from swimming in the river all by yourself to a first apéro late in the afternoon. Everybody's always available. Like, no convincing. Can we go for ice cream? Yes. So it's the most beautiful week.
But it's interesting. I received this email from a Swedish fashion company today saying, the melancholy of summer being over, etc. Because the Swedes go away in July. Yet, of course, the rest of Europe, if you look at any of the sort of the traffic reports right now from France, 500-kilometer tailbacks, etc. So yes, maybe the Nordic world, of course, summer's over for them, but everything is just kicking into gear right now.
I think Gotthard, like you wouldn't want to cross the Gotthard last night. I think they had...
Or any night, but anyway. I'm also happy to say Josh Fehnert, our editor, is with us in London with Georgina this morning as well. Josh, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Josh, tell us what is making news on your side of the channel, because we've got a lot to talk about today. We haven't even discussed, well, we mentioned a little bit in, of course, the headlines for the show, but tariffs. There's a little bit of a shock here in Switzerland. 39% tariffs. This nation really slapped rather heavily, the hardest in Europe, certainly. But over on your side of Europe, what's happening, Josh?
Well, I'm very intrigued to see how that is going to treat Swiss luxury brands, and I'm sure your panel will have great insights on that. What's happening here? There is a kind of end of summer mood, which is pretty miraculous given that we're right in the middle of summer. But as you know, Tyler, the thing that often keeps London busy in those summer months is the influx of people from much warmer climates. There's a bit of a Doha on Thames sense to Marylebone this morning and most mornings. So London is busy, and in Marylebone is enjoying itself as always. What have I been watching in the news? Well, clearly there's in-house news to discuss first. The September issue of Monocle is going to be purring out of the garage and to the printers tomorrow. There's a mobility theme to it and a bit of a top-to-toe polish as well. We're looking at some of those design elements, and you're reviewing the pages over there in Zurich. Is the mood good?
The mood is good. There's a couple of things that are heading your way afterwards. My colleague Azumi just pinned the issue up on the wall upstairs. So there's well, first I should say, let's rewind. As you said, there's going to be a bit of a freshen up for the issue starting, and we'll have copies in hand probably within the week, Josh. And that is, it's a bit of a back to school, autumn dust down for the magazine. I would say it breathes a little bit more. I would say not that we've been sort of bitty at the front, but I would say we've been very busy at the front of the magazine. But listen, hey, you've been in charge of this. Just more essays and maybe a pace at the front, which I think you sort of just ease into a little bit more. And it's probably taking some cues from, of course, the success of The Companion and other things that we've been doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no silly season and no risk of it here in London. But I have noticed just an absolute feverish rash of discussions of AI in the papers, in the newspapers. The Economist summer issue seems to be entirely about making these wild prognostications. Andrew Tuck, our editor-in-chief's column yesterday, was poking a little fun at it. But it's been so interesting to read the FT Weekend article about whether people in the literary scene believe that AI will write a bestseller, and I know we'll talk about summer reads, of course, today, but whether it'll write a bestseller by 2030. And it's a really nuanced, good piece that really tells you all you need to know about the future of AI. Of course, it can scrape together a compendium of facts, but is it going to write the great novel that teaches us all how to be human and to talk to one another? I really don't think so. So not silly season, but some rather silly stories coming out this week about AI and the way it's going to affect us all. It's got a whiff to me, Tyler, of the sort of the metaverse, NFTs.
The meta-where, Josh?
All of these things.
Which is the thing which we talk about a lot, because if you remember going to any marketing meeting, is it 3 years ago now, 4 years ago, that everyone said, yes, so what is your metaverse strategy? And I can remember thinking, we're not devoting any time to this. And we were right. So anyway, Josh, I just want to ask very, very quickly on the topic of bestsellers. Is our Georgina Godwin still in the studio? Has she gone out for some vitamins?
I'm absolutely here. And I never go out for vitamins. I go out for cigarettes.
Okay, so Georgina, there's a piece in Expresso, the Portuguese weekly newspaper, which was talking about just the world of just the world of literature and the world of book sales. And Chandra, bring you in on this on Wine. And they were talking about TikTok influencers. And of course, you've been, I'm not saying that you've been sort of front line with it, but of course, this rise of all of these people with their book recommendations. And what was interesting is it was saying that in Portugal, it's not even sort of moving the meter, that in fact, a lot of course, just huff and sort of bluster around these people. But they're actually, when you get to retail, or if you're, whether it's a shopper buying online, it's actually not having that much of an impact. And I wonder if I'm sure you do have a view. What is your view, Georgina?
My view is that TikTok absolutely, or BookTok as they call it, absolutely does sell books, but it doesn't sell the books that you and I read. It sells books by Colleen Hoover, who's a sort of... Well, exactly. It's, this horrible genre, romantasy, or dragons fornicating, basically. So those kind of books get sold through those mediums, through that kind of social media. But your more literary novels or your more mainstream still very much, I think, dependent on reviews and the traditional kind of publishing.
So let's bring Chandra in here. Chandra, I'm not on TikTok, but of course people sort of flash their screens in front of me when there are things I need to see on TikTok or Instagram or anything else. So I have my sort of social media proxy people who are around me. I don't know. Are you on TikTok yet?
I am not on TikTok.
But of course, in the world of wine and recommendations, is this something? Is it important? Are these people challenging you, or is that moment passed us by right now?
Well, the thing is, on Tuesday we go to print on Tuesday with our 10 years anniversary issue, and I did a complete different content because the wine world is in crisis, because we have a new target group. There are new people coming that, first of all, they don't want to drink, or they have a new taste. They want sweeter wines, for example, and the sweeter wines I would compare to the dragon stories and the love stories in these TikTok books. So I think there's a huge shift happening also with a new generation approaching us, that maybe we slowly, we have other needs. So it's a very interesting moment with a lot of changes, and I think we should look at all of them.
I'm seeing a wine label with dragons fornicating on it. Would you buy that, Myriam?
No. But I do know who Colleen Hoover is, so I know in the first place that I don't want to read it.
Okay, good.
I saw the film, so.
Okay, listen, let's stay in the wine world for a moment. Actually, Florian Egli is here this morning as well.
Speaking of wine.
Yeah, the dragon in the room. Of course, he's a classic voice, we can say, around the mics here, and is a professor of public policy at the Technical University of Munich. And that means, what does that mean exactly?
Good morning.
Good morning, first.
What the professor means?
Yeah.
That means I'm on holidays right now because semester has ended in Munich.
And school goes back after Oktoberfest, probably, right?
No, but mid-October. So okay. Yeah, it's a good timing.
So it's a good 2 weeks after the hangover. We're going to talk about tariffs in a moment. That's why you're here. But first, we need to talk about wine. Everyone knows how the game is played. This is a record number of people who are going to, deliver their brief to Chandra in terms of what they should be drinking, whether it's the 3rd of August or you want to drink it tomorrow or a year from now. And we'll start. I believe we have Emma Nelson is on the line, and I think I'm not saying you're a winner at this game, but certainly you're a keen participant. Good morning.
Bonjour, Tyler. I'm in France, and I'm in Chandra's happy place. I'm near Bordeaux. I'm on the seafront at Arcachon, and I must confess that Zurich isn't measuring up quite to the clear blue sky and pond-like sea that I'm looking at the moment. So apologies for that, and I won't rub it in too hard. But look, I've got go on. Sorry, Simon.
No. I was going to say also you're using the finest of France Telecom's cable network as well. It sounds like. But anyway, Emma,
is it a mess? We can try again.
No, it's fine. It sounds very authentic. So you're in France. I don't know. Do you want to go to Monocle? But anyway, listen, Chandra is here. So just deliver the brief. What do you need, Emma?
Okay, Chandra, I have to leave my flat in Arcachon in an hour's time, and my flight from Bordeaux is at 11 o'clock tonight. I have one day with a car, and I'm in your patch. Where do I go to buy a bottle of wine that I can put in my case that perhaps might be able to be drunk in a few months' time, but maybe might not clear out the piggy bank so much that I actually can never afford to go on holiday again? Good morning, Chandra, by the way. It's lovely to have you there.
Okay, you got that, Chandra. Emma, I think we need to reverse that. I think it's like, where can I buy a case that I can stuff my panties in and everything, and bathing suits, and check it in, as opposed to a bottle in your case. But anyway, we'll come back to that. I'm very happy to say that Jonathan Ducrest is here this morning. Of course, one of our patrons, a regular here at Dufourstrasse. Good morning, Jonathan. Nice to see you.
Good morning. Likewise.
Okay, so Chandra's right across from you, and do you want a sweet dragon fueled wine?
No, thanks. No, Chandra, a lot of train travel coming up for me, and I'm looking for
small bottles, tiny bottles,
tiny bottles. Red, white, rosé, doesn't matter. Just any recommendation, please.
Okay. Well, I'm intrigued on this one. So basically, what do they have on sale at Avec or one of the shops at the station? Georgina, we're going to go back over to you. What you want to knock back with something by Madame Hoover?
Well, yeah. So I've got this incredible pergola in my garden, and it's covered by this vine, and it's really prolific in terms of production, just so many grapes. And I just want to know, is it possible for me to make it into wine myself?
Help. Okay, so I think Chandra needs a bit more to work with, Georgina. So if there's any photos, etc. that you could send along. But I think what you're getting at is maybe, well, Chandra, I'll let you freestyle on this one. I think, Georgina, you're getting a bottle of something grown in Sussex.
We did actually try and make wine out of it once, and it was absolutely undrinkable. So I don't have high hopes.
How big was the production?
We got about 3 bottles out of it, I think. But it kind of was disgusting.
Okay. Myriam.
Okay, so I drink champagne, so I'm not very good at wine.
All right, fancy pants.
What kind of...
It's fine. You can have. She does champagne as well. She trades in champagne. It's not a problem.
No. I'm good with champagne. But so I buy wine by the label. And it never left me Like, it was always good. So
you're just talking graphic design, like typography.
So what kind of wine would I buy now for like a wonderful summer evening dinner al fresco if I buy it by the label? The beautiful label.
Okay.
Yeah.
Josh, over to you.
Hi, Tyler. Hi, Chandra. So I'm going to try and combine two things, an occasion and wine from a place. So I had the good fortune of going to Liguria earlier this year, but I didn't really manage to have any good wine in Liguria. The Vermentinos, the Pigatos, I couldn't find the right one. And the occasion is that my in-laws are coming to visit later. So if you could find me something good from Liguria that helps all of us feel like we're not in London and maybe on a windswept cliff near Genoa, that would be greatly appreciated.
Of course.
Okay, and is this a good thing that I don't know if the in-laws are listening or not. This is a good crowd, Josh?
Let's just make sure that the wine is strong enough, Chandra. Let's just make sure the wine's strong enough, okay?
Okay, and finally, Florian, over to you. We just come to you last today, it seems. Anyway.
Yeah, first, I want to make a quick remark on Georgina's suggestion. We're also trying to make wine here. So if ever we're in Zurich at the same time, Georgina, you can drink some of ours and see.
How's that going, by the way?
Well, it's going great. We're about that. We're at roughly 20 bottles. But yeah, it's still pretty meager production.
Okay.
Year 2.
In the meantime,
so I'd like something Swiss because I was feeling a bit sad that we didn't celebrate any of 1st of August. And I'd like, contrary to Swiss wine, something that makes me feel like I'm on a Greek island because, so really not something for the kind of weather we have now, but something that kind of, breaks the rhythm and is maybe a bit sparkly, a bit just summery.
Okay, that's good. Okay. You're going to be in Assyrtiko territory. I have a feeling. But anyway, let's see. Florian, let's stay with you because one of the main stories, which is dominating all of the papers here in Switzerland and even beyond, if you've been looking at a lot of the major news outlets, much surprise. 2 nations with red and white flags. Canada doesn't have a deal, and nor does Switzerland. And not just Switzerland certainly has tariffs coming its way, in the form of 39%. And if you sort of read the analysis in the papers here, just a lot of head scratching. What happened with this call with the president of the Swiss Confederation, Karin Keller-Sutter. And today, just a lot of deep analysis, overconfidence. What exactly happened, and what is going to unfold? Of course.
So yes, as you said, it's on the front page of every Swiss newspaper. There was a 30-minute phone call between Karin Keller-Sutter and Donald Trump. No agreement. There is an article today that says Donald Trump's aides were sending text messages to Karin Keller-Sutter's aides saying to break it off now, stop it now, it's only going to get worse. So I think it didn't escalate quite as badly as it could have, but it certainly didn't lead to any agreement. So we're at 39% tariffs. That's more than twice than what the EU got, and it's also more than the famous first card that Trump held up, which had Switzerland listed as 31%. If we unpack it a little bit, I think the first thing to note is that we still don't know what happens to the pharmaceuticals industry, which is the most important export industry of Switzerland towards the US. So as of now, everybody assumes that's not going to be in place for the pharmaceutical industry. Yet Donald Trump has sent letters to CEOs of pharma companies, amongst them the CEO of Novartis as well, threatening them if they do not lower prices of drugs in the US, then they will pull all levers that they have to make them do so. Very uncertain, right? So we are in this situation where we have a very high tariff, where pharma is excluded, and at least for now, it should come in place 7th of August. So there is a bit of a debate of whether the Federal Council should do something now. They have a video call tomorrow, it seems, because they're on holidays. So very, very uncertain. We can discuss about some strategies, how to approach it.
Okay. Yeah. If you have a top 3, I'm sure everyone in Bern and elsewhere is listening. Maybe in Washington as well.
So some of the things that are discussed are, mainly the right-wing party, SVP, demands that Switzerland should have a stronger presence in the US, so that Switzerland just was kind of like not important enough for Trump circles. I'm very skeptical whether that's going to work. Having more diplomatic forces in the US, I think that's not going to work. Strategy number 2 is retaliate. It's funny, like some members of the political scene in Switzerland mentioned this. Nobody has a clue as to how, because there aren't actually many options for Switzerland to retaliate, because, for example, we're not part of the European Union. Number 3 is focus on the European Union. That's what the Social Democrats want. They say, okay, that's the best proof we have. We have to integrate.
It's the biggest trading partner. Anyway,
exactly.
US is number 2, yeah.
Focus on the EU. Probably good, but doesn't solve the problem. Number 4, which is never discussed anywhere.
I only gave you 3, but it's fine. This is a bonus. You can go up to 5.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it anywhere. Is concessions and false promises. So somehow we didn't talk about this. So the EU just made false promises and it worked, right? So they said we're going to buy gas, mainly some oil. Pretty arbitrary numbers, investment, pretty arbitrary numbers. Donald Trump could announce something. Switzerland has never ventured down that path because it's kind of a country fond of a rule-based systems. I think we should think about it. And in terms of concessions, the second most important export is gold. So Switzerland has pretty large gold refineries in the southern part, in Ticino, Italian-speaking part, and to be honest, gold refining doesn't add so much value. So if you think about concessions, that could be a place to make concessions, which also was never discussed and I think wouldn't hurt Switzerland much. So I think there are options, both in terms of kind of announcing investment that may or may not materialize, and in terms of concessions in export industries that are not creating that much value locally. But these are not discussed for the moment, at least.
The other thing which has also been emerging in the papers, and we've seen this for the past few weeks as well, because there's been various question marks raised around, which is, of course, probably one of the biggest trade deals, certainly Switzerland and France heading to the United States, which is for the F-35 fighter. So Switzerland has agreed, in principle, and the order books are there and seem to be full, to buy, I guess it's close to 40 F-35 fighters. This is a big order for a small country with not a huge air force, and it's been a significant deal. There was a referendum around this, and there's now a call as well to say, should this deal, of course, be killed as well. I'm wondering how serious that is. It would be not great, obviously, for U.S. aerospace if it happened, but also it's going to come at an enormous cost for Switzerland if they cancel this as well.
Look, the problem is I think it's going to come at a higher cost for Switzerland than the US, because the order books are full. Actually, the delivery of these jets is being delayed because the order books are so full. I'm not even sure, if the aerospace industry in the US would be so sad about, a couple of orders less for the next 10 years. It's probably a little blow, but I don't think it would be a significant blow. On the contrary, to Switzerland, it would be a significant blow because it would delay the acquisition of new jets. The old ones go out of service, so it would kind of, make this hole for the Air Force. And then at the same time, if you buy other jets in Switzerland, there will be a referendum again. There will be a public vote again. So this will take years. This is not just kind of a public procurement change. We're just going to get other jets. But this will actually take a couple of years. And given the security situation we're in, with NATO in Europe in general, I think this would probably be unwise and hurt Switzerland likely more than the US. So not really an option to retaliate there, I think.
And just on the topic of manufacturing, Myriam, you had a good story as well, because it's, I'm not sure if it's on the front page of one of the economic sections, but it's looking at a Swiss company, which of course is quite famous for, making rather souped up looking lawnmowers, plows, etc. And they've sort of been playing, you could say, Donald Trump's game in terms of moving manufacturing.
Yeah, so it's in the NZZ am Sonntag today, in the economy part of the newspaper. It's Egli Schmidt. So I know this company because my grandfather is a farmer, and as kids we would sit in these pretty elaborate, what's the name again?
Well, they're kind of beyond lawnmowers, because you can sit on
all
them.
these machines for agriculture, exactly. And so Egli Schmidt already had lots of customers in the States. They primarily deliver to airports, plowing snow and all of that. And so for them, so they've been playing the game, yes, but also they've also had a bit of luck where they just decided that from now on, they already have a company in the States, and from now on, they're just going to fabricate everything in the States. So for them, it's like they're sort of looking to the future rather positively. But then yesterday I read that, for example, Bachmann, a chocolate company here, they just said, I'm sorry, this is it. We're not going to deliver to the States anymore. again, like with the fighter jets, I think American can live without Swiss chocolate. My friends probably don't want to live without chocolate, but you're absolutely right. And I think it's so interesting what you said, Florian. I think we need to learn to play his game. And I really think that you can tell him, why don't I give you this and you give me this? And he will forget in like 10 days probably, right? And this is something that we're just not used to in Switzerland. We're so much about this is the rule and this is how we do it. And yeah.
Is this also just a question of characters as well? I mean, yeah, Frau Sutter, yes, very much a respected politician. Of course, sort of came out with quite a few stars off the back of the Credit Suisse collapse, folding it into UBS. Showing that she could be sort of very fleet of foot to make that deal happen, etc. But this is maybe not a world of pragmatism as we know it.
Hey, I think it goes totally against how the Swiss political system works, how the Swiss administration works. It's built on reliance. It's built on slow speed, finding a deal that actually works and then implementing it kind of, word by word, and actually checking on whether it's been done afterwards. And you see this in other areas as well, right? So Switzerland famously, for example, signed deals with Germany on expanding train lines on both sides of the border. Guess which country has done it in time and which hasn't? Like the Swiss part is always done. So as long as, if Switzerland signs something, it's been done afterwards. So we're really bad at this kind of, fluking our way through. So yeah, I think it's a very much culture in the administration and in the political system that cannot deal with this world of unpredictability that Trump has started.
And I think also just because the way the federal council works here, you just can't do things on the fly. So I think one of the piece of analysis this morning as well. It's like you can't just be a leader in this country and say, okay, look, we're happy with 32 or we're happy with 12. This is going to has to go back to the federal councillors, to the Confederation in general. It's just not the way it works. So it's just also just a real collision of systems. Where's she going to? I mean, listen, she might have had a variety of advisors around her. It still wasn't going to happen on the hop, was it?
But the EU somehow managed, right? Like Ursula von der Leyen also cannot really promise anything without the main countries at least being in favor. And of course she kind of bent to the German car industry in this negotiation. But still, I think it would be possible. I think it's not our modus operandi. It's difficult, but I think we could get there. I don't know.
Georgina Godwin is not out for vitamins. I'm told she's back in London with the news headlines. And make sure that Josh doesn't nip out as well, because I want to speak to him very quickly. But Georgina, you have the news for us.
I do. More than 120 firefighters are trying to extinguish a blaze at an oil depot in the Russian city of Sochi that was sparked by a Ukrainian drone attack, the regional governor said early today. It was also announced that 4 people were injured in southern Russia by a Ukrainian drone strike that caused several fires, while Moscow launched a missile attack on Kyiv. US President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy told families of hostages being held by Hamas that he is working with the Israeli government on a plan that would effectively end the war in Gaza. Trump has made ending the conflict a major priority of his administration, though negotiations have failed. Thousands of demonstrators braved pouring rain to march across Sydney's iconic Harbour Bridge today, calling for peace and aid deliveries in the war-torn Gaza Strip. Authorities tried to block the march from taking place on the bridge, which is a city landmark and a transport thoroughfare, but this was overruled by the state's Supreme Court, and a similar march also took place in Melbourne. And a truckload of hot dogs has spilled across a busy road in Pennsylvania when a scrape ripped the trailer open and scattered the sausages across the highway. Crews mustered up the courage to begin a morning rush hour clean-up, one of the worst they'd seen, and didn't mince their words, with the local fire chief observing that hot dogs are very slippery. Back to you, Tyler.
Oh, Georgina. Oh, Josh. What do we do with this? Josh licking his lips. No doubt. Josh, have you picked up anything? You talked about silly season. There was actually an interesting piece in the Daily Mail yesterday about this. I mean, anyone who remembers Little Britain, this sort of Vicky Pollard style character who's like causing terror on a local high street in Southampton. Not sure if you came across that one. One of my favourite stories of the weekend. But
I didn't come across that. And when you asked me immediately after Georgina's risible last line if I'd picked anything up. I thought I needed to defend myself. No, Tyler, I have not picked up anything from the Central Reservation that I'm taking home to cook for my in-laws.
Particularly in Pennsylvania, of all places. Anyway, go look at this story because it talks about this girl being a 14-year-old. She's 14. She's terrorizing the town. She's got this girl gang. She's kicking in windows. She walks around with a megaphone, it sounds like, and just shouts at people. All kinds of abuse. Lots of things lots of words we'd never use on a program like this.
So this is a lawless Britain story, of which there are an awful lot. But can I give you a slightly positive counter narrative?
Please.
I actually think that the reporting, let's not say it goes beyond London, but the opening of a few new outlets recently, often journalists fleeing national newspapers or being the media editor for a big online website, have started small, independent, interesting bits of reporting about the capital. And actually, increasingly, there is some rather good journalism about London that is a little bit solution-focused and solution-orientated. There's a website called The Londoner, started by two disaffected journalists from Broadsheets, and they did this great investigation that I read about windows being smashed. And guess who it ended up being, Tyler? Guess who was smashing all the windows? It was the Glazers who ended up...
oh, good. So not that girl, not the rabbit girl from Southampton taking the train in.
I have no evidence she was involved.
Okay. I do have to direct you to this story, though. But just tell us quickly about the London, because this is, I lived in London for a very long time. It was one of the, it was always a conversation, Josh, why London does not have its very own version of New York Magazine, why London, and yes, there was a moment maybe where the Evening Standard did quite a good job. Georgina, you would sort of feel this with broadcasting as well. One of the biggest cities in the world, arguably the biggest city in Western Europe, and sometimes when you watch like the BBC local news, it's so local, and there's sort of no sense of sort of presence and being part of there's the global stories that the BBC does well, maybe the national stories, but it's like, come on, like where is the great coverage of London? It just simply doesn't exist. And so, Josh, you think this is a bit of maybe a shining light pointing things in a new direction for the sector?
I really do, actually, Tyler. I think, so much of what we know about cities like New York is informed by the amazing journalism that came out of the West Village and this revolutionary zeal of people who wrote, who went to things, who knocked on doors, who asked difficult questions, who were enterprising shoe-leather journalists. And I do really think that, it's amid the sad decline of some print titles, people are looking to monetize great reporting. So they've all got terrible names. I hate to tell you. So there's The Londoner, The Londonist. Obviously, the Evening Standard has become The London Standard. But actually, between those three and a couple of smaller organizations, there is beginning to be some interesting stories. Now, some of it is obviously about corruption. It's a big city. It's not a perfectly run city. But I actually can sort of see a story emerging, a story about people being proud, and really something that we talk about a lot at Monocle, a sense of belonging, a great high street, knowing your neighbours. Some of the solutions to these, terrible inbuilt malaises of living in a very big, poorly functioning city actually, can be solved sometimes by talking and taking a shared interest in what's happening to the plot at the end of the street, whether that community organisation survives, and how safe you feel when you walk past this girl from Southampton with a megaphone, and if you feel confident that the police are going to be there to help you. So I think there is a little positive story hidden away there.
Josh, just tell me, there's not a new outlet with an LY at the end. There's not a Londonly, is there? Because that has to be just the worst suffix that has sort of emerged in this digital era of putting an LY on something. But anyway,
that'll be the TikTok account, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, just before you go, because I can hear the in-laws approaching. Chandra, we're going to come to Josh. Are we ready with Josh's reco already?
We are ready with Josh.
Okay, so Josh, just before you go, Chandra, what do we have for the in-laws?
So you from Liguria, I think you have to go to take a wine from Cinque Terre. There is the mastermind of the Piedmont, Egli did there his only winery, and you should find some of these rare indigenous Bosco Albola white wines.
Bosco Albola.
Is that sounding good? Just one more time for listeners. What is the name of the actual winery?
It's called really Cinque Terre. It's in the Cinque Terre, and he called it Cinque Terre. And he's actually a winemaker from the Piedmont, so more for Barolo and Barbaresco, but he fell in love with these mythical vineyards there in front of the sea, and he created a love project.
Okay, so can Josh scamper down to Selfridges, probably find it in the Selfridges wine department? Does he need to
Maybe more hedonism.
More hedonism?
Could I just check the ABV on that, Chandra?
The ABV?
Yeah, how strong is it? Is it going to get me through?
12.5, so, drink a lot.
Josh, I will leave you there. Thank you very much. Have a lovely Sunday. I'll look forward to the reports and keep an eye on the email over lunch as well. If you have to sort of get away from the table, there's a couple of changes that are going to be hitting the page for the September issue.
Duly noted. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you very much. You are listening to Monocle on Sunday. We're live in Zurich. It's just gone 10:39. I believe that means it's 11:39 in Istanbul. No, actually, we are heading to Istanbul. Well, let's say we're heading to the Eastern Mediterranean because our correspondent from the region, Hannah Lucinda Smith, is there for us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Or I believe it's still Kalimera, I guess. So we can get away with that. Well, tell us, you're on holiday. Thank you for checking in. And you're on the other side of the border. But maybe let's just start regionally. What's making news, Hannah? I think France Telecom is also running the lines at that end of the Mediterranean as well. Hopefully, Hannah, are you there? If not, we will come back to you. No, I think we have indeed lost her. Thankfully, Florian is still here, and so is Myriam. Myriam, we were talking about at the start of the program, and a little bit about island life as well. You've already done your tour out to the States. Thoughts, impressions? You're out on Nantucket, which is sort of a usual haunt for you in the summertime.
Yes. So I spent my first 2 weeks of July in Nantucket, and I do nothing. Apart from reading books and walking the beach and drinking coffee. So to me, it's always like, this is not real life, right? And I'm not the only one there. The street where I stay on, there's lots of, people who usually spend their time being CEO of a big corporation. And I have to say, so this year, it felt different. You can really tell the way I call it is being in the States right now, as a tourist, feels like a bipolar experience, because of course
do you when you're in the US, because you've got family roots, or do you feel Myriam the tourist, or do you feel like you have a little bit more skin in the game?
Yeah, maybe I have a little more skin in the game. I can also just tell you that, so my people in the States, like, they wake up every day and there is a mix of fearfulness, there is a mix of, oh my God, I'm so over this already. There is an exhaustion. And I know people from both sides of the voting spectrum. And what I realized is this time that everybody is afraid. Nobody is willing to speak up. And I find that a very difficult situation to endure. I also find it very difficult to, of course, I go about my day. I go for coffee. I go for lunches, even have a manicure. And then you hear that in the restaurant next door, IC raided the kitchen last night. And that's just a very unpleasant, doesn't exactly say what it is, but it's just not, this is not a good place to be in.
I want to go back to reading. Do you bring books from Switzerland, or do you look forward to hitting a favorite bookstore? Yes. And Georgina, you would have a view on this as well. How much do you sort of, and Georgina, you've got to read on flights because you're going to lots of book events around the world. Or do you look forward to, there is a book in Nantucket, or if you're flying through New York or Boston, that you actually want to go to that store and then load up there?
Well, I do both. So I have those books that I have reserved for my summer holidays, which I schlep along. So my suitcase is always very heavy. So I bought 2 books from Switzerland that I did not read in the end, that I carried all the way to the island. But I always like to buy the books where I'm at. So I think it's always very interesting to see, what just came out, what is the neighbor reading. And so this year, there was a bookstore on Nantucket on Main Street, very, very small, but with a great selection. They have everything of, like all the genres. And I read the latest book by Wally Lamb. It's called The River is Waiting. It was excellent. I was savoring every single page. Unfortunately, the story also got a little sad for my summer holidays, but it was a delicious read. It was just wonderful. It is about a young guy who sort of is failing at his career as a graphic designer, becomes a young dad, then sort of has a bit of an addiction issue, and that sort of then leads him into jail. And then you learn a lot about injustice of the justice system in the States. Rather sad, but it was
I was going to say, you pitch yourself
fantastic.
Into the sea.
No, it was wonderful. No, it was wonderful.
Right.
It was so beautifully written. Wally Lamb is deep and sad, but so profound. It's a good book.
Florian,
Yeah.
are you there? Are you
following.
on the disillusioned dad? It's like,
I'm not going to read Colleen Hoover. Sorry, I'm not going to do it.
okay, let's go back to the Eastern Mediterranean. I believe our correspondent Hannah Lucinda Smith is back. Hello, Hannah.
Hello, apologies. I escaped so thoroughly that I also escaped internet connection.
That's all right. So let maybe just bring us up to speed. I want to come to these wild boar who chase the tourists, but let's save that for the end. What are the bigger news stories that you're following?
Sure. Well, I think the biggest story, certainly in Turkey and across the Eastern Mediterranean, really is the continuing heat wave and the forest fires that's bringing. So in Turkey, particularly around the city of Bursa, actually not normally a place that's afflicted. We see forest fires every year here in this region. It's become something of a new normal, but generally they're sort of further south. Bursa is quite close to Istanbul. It's surrounded by forests, many of which have been burning for several days now. There's been, of course, a huge effort to bring those fires under control. The conditions have really been working against those firefighting teams, as well as the high temperatures. There's been really high winds, so obviously that makes it very, very difficult. But alongside, a sort of appreciation of that, as every year, there are questions about how well the Turkish government is prepared for these kind of events, which, as I said, are becoming normal rather than an exception. There was a scandal a few years ago when it emerged that almost all of the firefighting planes in the country were out of service. There have been questions about the development of some of these areas as a burning, about the kind of, overdevelopment of tourism resorts, the cutting down of forests in order to build new hotels, yacht marinas, things like that, and the kind of, impact that has on the environment at a later stage.
I'm curious, just well, of course, your normal patch is Turkey, and when you look at the story, how much of it, in a way, goes all the way back to Ankara versus how much, not saying sort of blame, but when you think about sort of management goes down to, to the regions, to municipalities, and likewise also, where you are at the moment, because it's obviously always a topic in Greece as well. How much of this is left to sort of, regional governors versus how much this is really on Athens. And, we were talking about, the procurement of military aircraft. It's interesting, these last few years, you see governments being much more on the front foot when they're talking about buying water bombers. And of course, if you're buying water bombers, that tends to go back to the capitals because it's administered by big ministries. So how much of that is a conversation, do you think, between Athens and Ankara? Not that Athens and Ankara are talking necessarily, but in terms of what this means from a defense point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly in Turkey, it's an absolutely politicized debate because the places where these fires tend to happen, the western coasts, are areas that are opposition strongholds. They're the kind of most secular areas of the country. They're the places that never ever vote in President Erdogan's party, which is a conservative Islamist party. And there are accusations not just about forest fires, but on all kinds of levels that those municipalities are basically starved of funds as a punishment, also cut off from getting, loans from state banks and things like that. And of course, these events are hugely traumatic, and there is a huge amount of blame being thrown around all over the place. We hear it every year in Turkey. Always there's some part of the media that blames the PKK, the Kurdish separatist group, saying, well, they're lighting the fires. And then there's always a few people arrested, for saboteuring. And then the political debate begins. But I think, certainly in these countries where political polarization is high, traumatic events like this do become a kind of lightning rod. But I think also, it does reveal deeper structural questions and problems about the preparedness of these countries and the kind of places that the governments are looking when they're trying to provide security for their people, because this is a security issue. People and governments talk a lot about, as you were talking about earlier, about, fighter jet procurement, about building up armies, about things like this. But these fires are affecting tens, hundreds of thousands of people's lives across Europe now.
And maybe this brings us to the slightly lighter story. You teased us at the top of the program about some frisky swines on. I'm not sure whether they're in Turkey or in Greece. Remind us what happened.
Yeah, so this is in Greece. This is an island called Ithaca, and some tourists were swimming in the sea, beautiful turquoise sea. All of a sudden, they see a herd of wild boars swimming towards them. Now, this is a very clickbaity headline. Of course, it's something that you think, what? But actually, this is not something completely unusual in this region. And it actually also happens in Istanbul semi-frequently, that a wild boar will swim up the Bosphorus, get out at some point in the centre of the city and start chasing people. And, it's kind of one of those stories that's sort of quirky and people laugh at it, and there's, usually some great video and photos. But actually, again, this really points to a kind of deeper issue about the way that we are developing our countries, our tourist resorts, our cities. The reason why humans and animals like this are coming into contact is because we are moving into their habitats. That's the case in Istanbul. Istanbul is expanding and expanding into the forests around the Black Sea, and driving out animals from those habitats. And the same here in Greece. The constant building of hotels, always new resorts, always new marinas, new airports. It destroys habitats, and this is when you get this kind of these unusual meetings between humans and wildlife.
Lots to reflect on. And I'm glad we got you on the line. Apologies for having to keep it a little bit short. That was Hannah Lucinda Smith, our correspondent, normally in Istanbul, but on the Greek islands right now. Florian, do you think if you are wild boar in Turkey, it's not a pork eating country? Is that a sort of a get out of jail pass that you have? That's why you can be sort of piggy, if you will.
Just be yourself.
Exactly.
No, I was thinking of how wild boars swim.
You were just showing us now as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's not a lot to work with, really, right?
Yeah, because you have these super small paws.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I guess it's
not paws, I don't think.
What
are they hooves?
Hooves.
I think they're hooves, no?
Yeah.
Pardon my English.
I have to tell, so the other day, so swimming.
Auf Deutsch, what would it be?
Hufen.
Hufen?
Yeah, it's ein Hufentier, no?
I think that,
Yeah, wie ein Schwein. It has like Hufen, yeah.
Chandra, do you want to jump in on this one?
I think they have a lot of fat, so they are on the water.
They're rather buoyant as well, exactly.
They float. The other day, I was swimming with a beaver, like a beaver.
A beaver, yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, but you have to be very careful because you get beaver fever.
Really?
It's a thing.
Yes. Welcome to Canada, ladies and gentlemen.
No, because the beavers...
It didn't bite me. It just gave me a look.
No, but listen, anyway, beaver fever, look it up. It is just coming up to 10:51. We're heading we're about to head to Berlin, but our producer's saying maybe there's phone line problems there as well. Georgina, just very quickly, before we go and before we talk about wines, etc., we were talking about literature. We've got Meet the Writers coming up after this, but for our listeners, top 2 or 3. Very quickly, top 2 or 3 things if people are heading off on holiday. What do people need to be reading, or at least what could they find at a decent airport or rail station bookshop?
Well, there's a huge amount of choice, and of course the Book-along list has just come out. Natasha Brown is on that list. She's a previous Meet the Writers guest, as is Tash Orr. A fantastic book about AI, actually, but quite chilling and very. It's a bit sort of thrillery. It's called For Emma, and it's by a Scottish writer called Ewan Morrison. And then you've got Esther Freud writing about her childhood. Of course, she's the daughter of Lucian Freud, the sister of Bella Freud. She's novelised it. It's called My Sisters and Other Lovers, and it's a beautiful book. But I just wanted to pick up on what we were talking about earlier and Nantucket.
Buoyant pigs? No.
No.
We can. I'm sure we can find a way to weave that in. But I wanted to just talk about holiday reading and where to purchase those books, if you're going to take them with you or not, because there's this fantastic bookshop in East Hampton on Long Island called Bookhampton, and it's an indie run. It's really creative, lovely bookshop. And then the owner said she was going to sell. Absolute panic there, because everybody thought it's just going to be taken over by another shishi boutique, and that hasn't actually happened. So it's being bought by the art dealer Larry Gargosian, which I think is really interesting. He's financed the whole thing. He's going to keep it very much as it is, kind of indie and stuff. They do a lot of events there. I sometimes do them for them by Zoom, and it's just it's a really lovely space. Of course, it sells and sells and sells like mad during the summer, and then the rest of the time the sales drop off. because of course the tourists are all there in the summer. But I just thought it was so interesting that Gagosian has kind of stepped in as a community service more than anything else.
We certainly like when you have patrons like that who can, of course, support necessary businesses. Just on the topic of bookstores and maybe a few tips as well, I'm happy to say that Christoph, the editorial director at Die Zeit, is with us as well. I believe he's in Berlin, maybe not. You could be in Rügen, you could be somewhere else. Good morning, guten Morgen.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tyler. Well, I'm actually an hour car drive away from Berlin in a very small, beautiful town called Bukow, which used to be the home of Bert Brecht and Helene Weigel, the famous theater directors and writers. And I'm actually staying at a friend's house, and they bought the old guest house of Bert Brecht. So we're just waking up this morning to the vibes of this old German writer.
Okay, we're getting a lot of approving nods around the table here. So just tell us, for maybe our listeners who are heading to Berlin, or maybe even, it doesn't have to just be Berlin, but favorite bookstore. If you think I have that moment and I want to buy something pictorial, I need to buy something because I'm hopefully on a Deutsche Bahn train that's going to get me where I need to go on time. What is your favorite bookstore?
Well, in Berlin, one of my favorite bookstores is at Savignyplatz. It's very beautiful. It has been there for many decades, and they have a beautiful collection of novels, international books, photography books. So if you go to Savignyplatz in West Berlin, that's going to be your bookstore.
Okay. Now, this is the service side of the program. If you caught the early bit, we have Chandra here, who, of course, is ready to, and it sounds like, obviously, in this wonderful place that you're staying, that you probably will need some wine over lunch or later in the day. Can you give Chandra a brief for us? Because what are you looking for? If you could sort of venture out, if you can find things that are, of course, open on a Sunday in Germany to go and buy wine where you are, what would you be in search of?
Chandra, why not have like a German version of getting as close to Sancerre as possible?
Okay, she's got that. She's going to work on that over the coming minutes. Christoph, just because we've been tight on time as we've been dealing with these tariff issues here in Switzerland, just tell us when we look ahead to what's coming up for Die Zeit across innovation in magazine, on page, on screen this autumn. What can we look forward to?
Yeah, we have something very new coming up. Actually, next Saturday, we're going to publish an extra edition of Die Zeit, of the weekly paper, but it's going to come out on Saturday. It will have all the parts of the sections of the books, but it's totally dedicated to a travel issue about Germany. So we're traveling to 77 places with famous actresses like Iris Berben and writers like Florian Illies, who will share their travel secrets within Germany with our readers. And so the sections of the paper will not be politics and culture and economics like it is usually, but it's going to be at the lake, in the mountains, in the woods, and in the cities. And I'm very happy and proud to have worked with a small team on this issue in the last couple of months, and it's going to be out next Saturday.
Fantastic. And just tell us very quickly, because we're going to have to shuffle along, that comes out in newspaper format, or is it magazine format?
Yes, it's a newspaper format. So it's sort of a magazine approach, but on the big newspaper format of Die Zeit.
Okay, Chandra, very quickly, because we have to go. What's the Germanic Sancerre that we can
try the Sauvignon Blanc from Markus Schneider aus der Pfalz called Kai Tui. I think you can compare these two wine styles.
How does that sound, Christoph?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
You're
have
welcome.
a great Sunday. We have about 90 seconds to get through a lot of wine. So very, very quickly. We've already done Josh. So Jonathan, you're looking for something in a small bottle. What does he need, Chandra?
Tin cans are good to travel. There's one called the Spritzer. I think this could fit. There's some carbonated flour from the UK.
Okay.
Try to find this.
Very good. Myriam, you're getting something
label.
champagne with a good label. What do you
label.
recommend?
There's one only good Ockau from Austria, and they just launched a new wine called Eugenie, and it's all faces on the label, and the faces represent the style of wine. So you will have a lot of things also.
I'll take that.
Okay, for Florian for his big wine production inspiration, 20 bottles.
Florian, so there's a new launch wine from Schaffhausen, Gefaues. It's a cooperative winery, and it's called Sandrin. So I think you should Google it, and when you see the label, you fall in holiday mood immediately.
Lovely, thank you.
Georgina Godwin, well, you've got this vine, and I know you need to drink under it quickly.
So, Georgina, you need help. So, go to Family Tétanger. They have Domaine Evermore in Kent. They did a new winery, so maybe they can help you with the grapes.
Fantastic.
In London.
Emma Nelson, if you're standing by, quickly.
Still here.
Okay, on the way to airport, there's this famous Miso Lafitte and Les Sources de Caudalie. They have a good restaurant where maybe you just don't miss the flight after, but in Miso Lafitte, 30 minutes from the airport, you should buy some bottles.
Excellent. Chandra, thanks for that.
Thanks,
Emma. Thanks, listeners, and a huge thanks to our producers, Desiree Bentley, of course, Jay Maria Lebevin, and of course also to everyone who was around the mic today. I'm Tyler Brûlé. I'll be joining from Südtirol next week. Have a very good weekend. Goodbye.